Hi, welcome to Introducing Middle School Science 8. This is lesson number 1 in Q1 Pod 1, The Nature of Science. First of all, I just want to say welcome, and the best way to introduce you to this course is to first introduce you to myself. So I am Miss John Julio, and a few things I'd like you to know about me. I love teaching every type of student. I've taught middle school, high school, college. I've taught in person and online. Right now, I'm teaching middle school science 8 to you lovely ladies and gentlemen, and life science to the high schoolers. For fun, I like to travel. I read a lot of science fiction books. I guess that's not surprising if I'm a science teacher. And I like to cook. I went to college at the University of Scranton up in northeastern Pennsylvania, and my hometown is Exton. This picture is from the best science class that I ever took. It was a tropical biology class in the Philippines. That is a giant millipede crawling on my arm. That is my professor standing behind me, laughing because there's a giant millipede crawling on my arm. And not to worry, they're not poisonous. And yes, they do tickle a whole lot. So that was my favorite science class of all time. I am hoping this year to make this your favorite science class of all time. So make sure you keep in touch with me and let me know what I can do to make this your favorite. What will you study in science class? There are 3 major units: physical science, earth and space science, and life science. And all these words here give you a little hint of some of the topics that are coming down the line. Why should you study science? Why should you actually care about studying science? Here are a few reasons. To understand the materials, processes, and living things that surround you every day. Make informed decisions about medicine, technology, and the environment. Get ready to debate, discuss, and eventually vote on important issues that affect American society. Evaluate the suggestions and claims you see in ads, in the news, or hear from your friends in a scientific way. And experiment to discover the answers to questions you have about your world. Now that you know what you're learning and a little bit of why you're learning it, let's talk about how this works. First of all, you're going to have live class with me every Wednesday and Friday at 2 p.m. Click the link that you see circled here on the class page to join. So around 1:45 or 1:50, you can start to click those links to come in on Wednesday and Friday. There we'll meet together with your classmates and me. You'll be able to see, hear me, see my slides, and we'll work together with your classmates by typing. You can come on the microphone and talk if you like, writing on the board, voting in polls, A, B, C, or D, yes or no polls, all kinds of fun tools like that you learn from Virtual Foundations if you're new, or that you remember from previous years if you're a returning champion of Achievement House. And we'll do all those things to work together and learn live. On the other days, you still have science to do. So Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays, you're going to focus on the topics for each week. There are usually 2 topics per week. And every topic has 2 types of items. First of all, every topic has a lesson. That's what you're looking at right now. This is a video lesson. Sometimes there'll be click-through lessons, which will also have audio and video in them to help you. The lessons are a place to take notes and learn new ideas about the topics. So each topic is introduced in a short video like this. Take your notes, whether that's in a paper notebook with a pencil or pen, or in a Word document or a OneNote document. Those are good ways to take notes on your computer itself. Make sure you're taking those notes because you'll need them from week to week, from month to month as we go through the class. They'll be really helpful to you. They'll also help you in the short term because if you look down from this video, you'll see that right below it are some multiple choice questions. Every lesson has questions like that. Those questions can be answered just by watching the video. Even if you have trouble understanding it, you should be able to catch those questions. The answers are right in the video. If you have trouble understanding a video, or if you're not able to get one of those quiz questions, make sure you reach out and let me know. Because these videos, the lessons and their quizzes, everyone should be looking for 100 on those. That means you're ready to start the assignments. The assignments or activities give you the opportunity to practice what you learned from the lesson. You can do them as many times as you need to until you've figured it out. So they're not something everybody gets right on the first try. Okay, you can keep doing it until you get it right. Again, if you run into trouble on those, you want to let me know. So on a weekly basis, you've got topics with lessons and assignments. And of course, all the different topics will be related, especially the ones in the same pod. So you'll see a couple other types of work to do that tie together different lessons. We're going to talk about those now. They're quizzes and tests. Just because they have the name quiz and test doesn't mean that they're all multiple choice questions or essays that you do it once, you get a grade, and if you failed, then you just take that F with you. Things work a little bit differently. When I say a quiz in my class, that just means it's a larger assignment that involves multiple topics. It might be a writing assignment, it might be questions like a traditional quiz, or it might be a project. And that's where you work on putting together the ideas in specific topics to explain something bigger about the main idea of the pod. Tests, what makes those different is that they wrap up a whole pod. You need to learn everything you've learned from the lessons, assignments, and quizzes. You're going to put all those things together to do well on a test. Tests come last in the pod after you've completed everything else. And they may be a set of multiple choice questions and open-ended essays like a traditional test, or they might be bigger projects, research assignments, or experiments. There's one more type of work you have to do. You may have noticed it down the bottom of the pod. It's called a PBA, or Pod Benchmark Assessment. You'll see lots of information on this slide here about it, and you can download the PowerPoint and read it in a little more detail if you want more info. But basically, you have to take a PSSA science test this spring that covers everything you've learned in middle school. That might sound like bad news, but that's okay. We're on top of it. Even if you forget a lot of things you've learned the past couple years in science, this year we're going to work through topics so that you've covered all the big ideas by the time you take that PSSA and by the time you're ready to move on to high school. And each pod, to see how we're doing on those ideas, those standards that the state has that are going to be on that test and that you need to know for high school, every pod you're going to take a PBA, a Pod Benchmark Assessment, that checks up on how you've done on the ones we've learned so far. So it'll be for that pod that's ending and any previous pods. There might be some questions thrown in. And you do get a grade on the Pod Benchmark Assessment that goes into your report card grades. But mostly it's also used to help me know how well you're coming along towards the end of the year. At the end of the PBA, there are a couple questions that are not for a grade that are called pre-test questions. Those are questions to find out what you know about topics we didn't learn yet. And that just helps me to get the new pods ready in the best way possible for this particular group of students who know what you know and who feel what you feel about these topics. So I've told you what I think is important for you to know. Before we go, I have one last thing. What do you want to know about Middle School Science 8? So please reach out to me with one question, suggestion, concern, or idea you have about this year's science class. You can do that by a phone call, an email, a BBIM. You can find me in the Cyber Cafe. You can even send me a text message on my work cell phone. You can find all of my contact information, phone numbers, my email address spelled correctly. Please do be a little careful with spelling. My last name is tricky. And you can find all of that information on the left side of the class page. If you only remember one thing from today, let it be this. You're here to learn. I'm here to help. Welcome to Middle School Science 8, everybody. Again, I'm Miss John Julio, and I'm very excited to be working with you this year.